I have just passed the 10,000 mile marker in my Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus. I've owned the car for about a year and a half at this point, and I have learned a lot along the way through those many thousands of miles. I want to give you guys kind of my biggest takeaways, my biggest lessons learned, also some of my biggest mistakes, some of my biggest misconceptions that I wish I knew at mile 0 that now I know kind of the hard way at mile 10,000. Here are some things I've learned along the way and some of my biggest mistakes about the Model 3 Standard Range Plus. So first things first, 10,000 miles later, this car is more capable, is more fun to drive, it is more versatile, and it is way more feature-packed than it was when I took delivery of it in May 2019. This car has now features that I did not ever to expect to receive when I took delivery of the car. Satellite maps, streaming music, web browser support, to name a few. Those were features that I just never thought I'd get because those were just not part of the car tier I ordered. The Standard Range and Standard Range Plus had the partial premium interior, and they were just not going to receive those features, but lo and behold, thanks to the power of over-the-air software updates, the car has gotten them, and the car continues to get more feature-packed, it continues to get more capable. It is more fun to drive today than it was when I got it back when I took delivery. It has been an incredible ride, an incredible journey, and the car just keeps getting better. And kind of since I took delivery, I kind of have built this channel kind of by mistake on the Tesla and the Model 3 and the Standard Range Plus specifically. And I had this channel for a number of years, I think since 2011. And when I uploaded that Model 3 Standard Range Plus kind of walk around after I had gotten the car, I accidentally kind of fell into a Tesla YouTube channel where I was making videos about Tesla and the Model 3 and their other vehicles like the Model Y, but specifically kind of focusing on the Standard Range Plus and this growing, amazing community of owners who really like the Standard Range Plus and see it as a very capable car, as do I. And the car that I took delivery of is much different than the Standard Range Plus you buy now, because now you get a car that has many more miles available in terms of range. It's more feature packed, it has more things. It is still a great option, and I still get a couple of questions on why I chose the Standard Range Plus and if I regret that decision today. And to answer that question honestly, I would say yes and no. The reason I chose the Standard Range Plus was because it gave me the features that I cared about most, while also not giving me features I didn't think were worth the money at the time, and I still think those are the case mostly today as well. I was saving a little bit of money, thousands and thousands of dollars, and still getting a very capable car. I still had autopilot, I still had a very premium interior, even though it was partial premium interior technically. I still had all the features via software, and I continue to get great software updates that give me kind of the same features in line with other Tesla vehicles, and I didn't really need the extra range. I really didn't need to have the extra bump because I don't do a whole lot of driving, hence me only actually driving 10,000 miles in a year and a half. But to put that aside, there are some things I do kind of regret. They always say you should buy the most battery you can afford at the time. And although I probably could have jumped to the long range, I just didn't see the need to. And yeah, I do wish I had more range. I don't think I would need it necessarily, but I do think there would be kind of a comfort factor knowing I had that cushion of more range. And probably the bigger one for me is the audio system. And this is something I'm going to dive into in a future video. I'm still planning to do a comparison between the two partial premium sound system and full premium. It's coming soon. Subscribe if you want to check that out when it comes up soon. But I do think there is a difference. I am not an audiophile, so it's not a huge difference for me. But if you do a lot of music listening and you spend a lot of time in the car, then I do think it might just be worth it to upgrade to the long range or above, because that audio system is a substantial improvement, because you're missing physical hardware pieces in the Standard Range Plus. You don't have all the speakers activated, you don't have the amplifier, you don't have the subwoofer. You are missing hardware features that don't make the audio system sound as good. And there is a noticeable, tangible difference in the audio quality between a Standard Range Plus and a long range. So that is something I kind of, I wish I had that, but I don't think it's enough to make me want to spend what the difference is, like $5,000, $6,000, whatever it is these days, to have it. It would be nice to have it, but I don't regret it enough to wish I could change my mind and redo the purchase. I'd still buy the Standard Range Plus again today if I had to make the choice all over again. And jumping to another point is one of the mistakes I made when I bought the car is I guess I assumed, maybe prematurely or I wrongly assumed, that you're always locked into something with Tesla. And this is sometimes the case. I don't expect your car to magically transform overnight, but I guess I kind of assumed that I'd never get more range and I'd never get more features, and what you bought when you got the car is exactly what you were going to get from then on until you sold it for eternity, so to speak. But that's not the case. Like I said, my car now has software features that were not ever available and were not ever rumored to be available when I got the car, thanks to software updates. Totally transformed the car and what it was capable of. Efficiency updates have kind of come through software updates as well. I'm not getting magically 20 miles of more range, but I am getting a little bit more range, and the battery continues to improve and get better thanks to software updates, and the more I kind of drive the car and the better the computer systems get. And the car is just, it's different, it's more capable, it's more versatile. I'm not 100% locked into exactly what I got on delivery day. I assumed Tesla would never change and what I bought was what I was going to get, but that is not necessarily the case in a good way. Teslas evolve because they're so reliant on technology, because they're so reliant on software updates. They do get better, and the more that Tesla is able to push out over software updates, the more features your car can potentially get in the future. That's not to say that you should buy something on the hope of what's going to come in the future, but just don't get yourself locked into the idea that I'm never going to get that feature, it's never going to come. I'm kind of locked into exactly what this car is going to have. Even people getting retrofit upgrades from hardware 2 computers to hardware 3, it's all possible with Tesla. Don't count them out because they have proven me wrong and others wrong time and time again. Another mistake I made was kind of downplaying the importance of a home charger. Now, I've made this point before, and let me make it clear again. I think that as long as you have some alternative options to charging and some sustainable options, you do not need to not buy a Tesla because you don't have a home charger. I live in an apartment building that didn't have chargers a year and a half ago, and that was just kind of how it was, and that did not deter me from getting the car. It did give me some pause and made me think about some options, but it wasn't a big deal. If you were able to supercharge, which I know isn't recommended as a sustainable option for charging because it degrades the battery, but just something to keep in mind. If you have a charger at your workplace, if there's public chargers around, definitely something to keep in mind. Even now in an apartment building that has chargers, that is a great way to charge. You do not need to not buy a car because you don't have a home charger, but I will say I didn't expect it to be so convenient to have a home charger, or I guess home charger in an apartment. Being able to charge up and have a 100% battery when I need it, or being able to charge to whatever level I need for the given week is super nice. To not have to worry about going to a gas station or going to a charger, to being able to come home, plug it in, and kind of go about my business, that has been super nice and has been very convenient. I don't think that going to a charger is as inconvenient as I thought it would be because I'm able to do things, especially because it's a supercharger, it charges fast, I can work on things as the car charges. I just think I underestimated how nice it would be to have a home charger, and if there is an option for you to do that, it is worth it. Or if you have a place that you can go for a couple hours and it has a charger, it is worth it. Not a deal breaker, but if you can make a home charger work, I think it's definitely going to be more convenient and probably a little bit more worthwhile in the long run. I also know there's been a lot of concern, and I was a little concerned about this as well, about show-stopping quality assurance, quality control features. I know that a lot of people kind of give Tesla a bad rap because they do shoddy work and their service centers are bad and this and that. I did not have any of those issues. I made a whole video about my issues with my Tesla, mostly software related. I'll link to up here and down below. But although I've had my issues, I haven't had any show-stopping issues. I haven't had poor quality control. I didn't have a bumper that was falling off, or glass issues, or any show-stopping features that I had to refuse delivery for. Nothing like that happened. It's been very good, and the car has held up extremely well. Software bugs have come and gone through software updates, and the car has not been perfect, but don't make the mistake that Tesla is a shoddy company that doesn't stand behind their work and you're gonna have to nitpick every little thing about your car. You should be observant, you should be careful, but Tesla quality control is not as bad as you might think. Do your due diligence, but you're not gonna have any show-stopping features most likely. And service centers have had their fair share of bad reputation, but they are getting a lot better and getting a little bit more efficient in getting that work done if you do happen to run into any issues. Tesla can be a little hard to get in contact with sometimes, but usually when you get in touch with the right person, they can expedite things and the process can work out very smoothly. They're learning, they're getting better, they've had their fair share of criticism, but don't count them out on being horrible because that narrative is quickly changing. And the last point I kind of want to make is a mistake that I had, and I think a mistake a lot of people have, is not really giving the Standard Range and Standard Range Plus their fair shake. Yes, they are a little less capable in terms of a spec sheet for spec sheet comparison. They don't have the audio system. They might not have all the premium features. They don't even come with floor mats, which I think is a little ridiculous. But the Standard Range and Standard Range Plus are fantastic cars, especially the $35,000 Standard Range, I think is one of the best deals you can get in car vehicles, especially electric cars right now. But I think that a lot of people make the mistake of discounting the Standard Range Plus. They don't see it as a worthy contender as their daily driver, literally. And they just think it's not as capable. And again, I was mistaken. I thought that the car was locked to what it was when I got it. That's not the case. Software updates can change things. Retrofits can change things. And the car is very, very capable. I think a lot more capable than people give it credit for. I don't think that you should count out a Standard Range Plus as an option. I think you should consider it, especially if the range, I think it's now 260 miles, is good for you. Don't be concerned about the range anxiety. I think the Standard Range Plus is a fantastic car that a lot more people should consider buying, because I really do think it gives you an incredible amount of value, an incredible amount of features, and for a dollar for dollar comparison, you get a whole lot of value for your dollar with the Standard Range Plus. So those are some of my biggest takeaways 10,000 miles later with my Standard Range Plus. Of course, I will do future videos updating you guys on changes that come to the car, things that happen that are great, things that are not so great. But if you haven't checked out my channel, I have a full video of a lot of details on this car, about the Tesla ecosystem and in general. I think now I'm at like dozens and dozens of videos. I try to upload once a week, so subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out my collection, my ever-growing collection of other Tesla vehicle videos here. Check them out. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I am Robert Rosenfeld, and I'll see ya in the next one.